Hello everybody, welcome to my assault tutorial. Today I'll be showing you guys, or sharing all my knowledge on assault kit. I hear a lot of good players trying to get into it but not really sure where to start, so hopefully this video can help out. I think it's really useful in the right situation, but obviously if you don't know what the right situation is, it's hard to take advantage of it. So that's what I'm going to hopefully share with you guys today. If you enjoyed this video, just give it a like, share it around. I think this will be very useful. There's not a lot of guides for kits out there for Woolwars, so the more people who see this, it would be very good. I'd appreciate it a lot. But yeah, let's get right into it. So starting off, I'm going to be talking about hotkeys and your kit layout. So I'll quickly run over to my hotkeys real quick. Now, as you can see here, I just have 1 through 5, my 2 side mouse buttons, and then B and V. Now, ideally for hotkeys, you have a lot of tools, and one of the best parts about Assault is just having that surprise factor of, hey, we got a pick, or you guys are playing really passive, we'll place middle real quick so you guys don't even get a chance to fight us and we just win the round for free. That's a very good part about Assault. So to take advantage of that, you're going to want to make sure that your hotkeys are all set up very well and that your kit layout reflects that. So the way I have it organized, I use my left index finger for my pickaxe, right for my shovel, use my thumb for my shears, and then for my potions, I use my side mouse buttons. It keeps one finger from having to do too much. So ring finger for my 1 and 2, my index for my 3, 4, and 5. And you notice I don't have anything placed on 5. I generally don't click 5 unless I get a bow power up, which is pretty rare. And then my potions are my mouse button because it's pretty convenient. I'm already aiming the potions, might as well just use my thumb for it as well. And then back on my keyboard, we got the shears and the TNT. Now, generally, you're not going to be TNTing anything while you're shearing blocks, so it's easy to get your shears out and then place a TNT, or even just use the Q button for the TNT. A lot of stuff you can do. But my recommendation, if you're going to take anything from this, put your tools so you're not using one finger from all your tools. But obviously, whatever is comfortable to you, definitely do that, but that's just my recommendation. In terms of power-ups on these maps, or for Assault, you try to avoid them. Speed off spawn is useful for some of the maps to get to mid quickly. But in terms of mid power-ups, because you're going to be playing on mid a lot, you're never really going to have too many opportunities to go for those side power-ups, the mid power-ups. But if you do happen to get a map where you do, any armor is really, I mean, obviously all the power-ups are helpful. Any of the armor and the weapons and the bow is all really useful. But if there's any that you're trying to play support, so you don't want to take them all from your team, but if there's any that you're going to claim to yourself, definitely try and keep an eye out for those boots. You're the only kit that doesn't spawn with boots, so it has the most effective value on an assault player. So if anything, just try and grab boots and it'll be okay. Alright, so I'll talk about team fights real briefly. I link Sakurai's video in the description. Really good thing to watch. I don't have too much to add to it. It's, if you want to get good at team fighting with Assault, you're going to have to make sure you understand that video first. Now, after you watch that video, Assault, the way you play it in those team fights is you kind of play it like swords. You want to bait your team. You want to be behind that tank player because, in general, you're going to die a lot quicker than your tank will. And you have a lot more important potions and TNT that you want to make sure you're able to use before you die. Because if you die too quick, you just lose out on all that value, right? So, in general, what I would recommend, you just play behind your tanks, and as they trade with people, when you see them get hit out, you can either walk in and extend the combo for them, or just throw your potion, to allow them to continue to combo themselves as they go back in. Some other things you can do is just focus on the people not trading with your tank. So if someone else is trying to get on your tank, you can walk in and fight them yourself. Stuff like that. Now, since you do have potions, you want to try and use them as effectively as possible. The more people at once you can damage pot or heal pot is definitely going to help out your team win those fights a lot more. So what I like doing is just if I see my team going in, I'm a bit further back. Maybe as I approach them and I get right behind them, I just throw a heal pot down. So now my tanks are full health after a few hits, while theirs are both half health. And after a few more hits, I throw my damage pot and we just clean up the fight real nicely. Something like that. So as you can see right at the start of this fight, you see me throwing my heal pot here. Now it looks a bit trash, apologize for that. But yeah, throw my heal pot right here. I got both my teammates that are right here as well. They were back there. And then, so I'm healing them and taking over for the swing. So you saw that did 4 hearts of healing to me. And then I hit him out and I noticed that one of the tanks also is a bit further back, getting hit. So I'm able to back up a second and throw a heal pot or damage pot. I was able to catch both of them real nicely. Ava's over here getting with my 2 tanks on her. So I'm able to focus a damage pot on both these guys at the same time and do a lot of damage and get them out of the fight. I noticed I'm the last person, and I noticed that they have a teammate going for insta as well. So my goal here is to try and pressure this fill so I'm not getting shot as much. I still got a damage pot. I can still fight this melee because I'm full, he's full. I don't know how healthy he is. So I know I need to pressure mid so that he burns his arrows and fights me quick. But he ends up holding it really well, mainly because he's low and had 1 arrow. So I'm able to dodge his 1 shot and kill him real quick, and I'm able to get the fill off before their tank was able to return. So just being on assault there really helps get that around, because if I'm on tank, their archer can hold that arrow way longer. Get my TNT in, and you see it kind of blast them back towards this area. Now I throw that damage, I do my potions here, just because I know that if one of them turns on me, which this guy's thrown out of the fight, so there's a good chance that at least one of these guys will turn and try and fight me. So I throw that damage pot preemptively, and I catch Navi here, and he's very dead after that. Then I go help my teammate, clean this guy up, and I have the last melee gain hit into me by my teammate. So yeah, just using your utility very well will help you win a lot of fights and do a lot of damage. So something to keep in mind. So for TNT, you're going to want to generally place it on a block that's too thin. So as you can see by looking under the map, there is 1 gap blocks. And so if you place a TNT here, if I pull out my sword, it goes through the floor, right? That's not ideal. So with TNT going through the floor like that, you want to be careful of where you place it. Now, there's 2 ways to place TNT. You can either do it with your drop key or with your blaze powder. And with your blaze powder, you're able to place it up on blocks that you wouldn't be able to with your drop key. There's different ways you want to do it in both. So if you're in the midst of a team fight, you probably want to keep your sword out swinging, so you can just drop it in the middle of the team fight, get everyone blown away a few seconds later, while able to keep swinging your sword. Whereas if you're maybe approaching a team fight, like I'll do here for example real quick, you can go up, place your TNT, and boom, TNT in their face. So you can either drop key or blaze powder, different ways you want to use both. If you want to put it up on a wall or out in front of you, you're going to want to do the blaze powder. If you're missing a team fight, you want to do Q. And how TNT works is if you're within a certain radius of it, you will get blown up by it, and it will send you away from it. One way that people like to counter this is either backing away from it completely, which is usually the safer route, but also if you stand right in the middle of the TNT, you won't get blown back anywhere. So just keep that in mind. If people like to do that, generally I just try and hit them out or hit them to the side a little bit, and then they go flying. And one last interesting TNT fact is that you can hit someone after they get TNT'd and it'll change their velocity. I don't have a good example of it, but like let's say I place my TNT, he gets hit, and then you hit him. Like let's say I hit him while facing this way after he took that TNT knockback. He would go this way for a bit and then turn back midair, just because of how Minecraft knockback works. Really strange. It can save people sometimes, so you just want to keep an eye out for that, but in general you won't have to worry about it too much. before we get into the maps and the ranked game, will be when to play Assault. So obviously I'll put a map tier list in the video, so you can kind of base it off that. And also there's general kits that do worse and better against Assault. So if you're playing against a team that really likes to play tank and golem, Assault does really well versus that. If they like to play swordsman, you just have to keep an eye out for them, because if you get sped on, you will die really quick, and your pots are a lot harder to hit with someone that's speeding in at you from the side, like swordsmen like to do. So that's something to keep in mind. On the smaller maps, it's not as important to worry about because they'll probably get hit by your utility regardless. But on those more open maps, if they're playing like tank sword and you're trying to play tank assault, it probably won't work as well. It could work, but if they're a good swordsman, it'll be very tough. Now, for if they're double tank, they'll be very good. It's good to play tank assault into tank. That's good. And then on 3 melee maps with more melee, it's pretty good. But just some things to try and avoid. If your teammate is really good on swordsman, you probably don't want to play assault to match them. If you're doing assault sword, that's pretty bad. That won't. It can work if you're better, but in the even matchup, that generally is not your favor. So I'd recommend switching to tank. And then if it's a 3 melee map, and if it's your 2 tank and your assault, and it's not going super well, maybe just switch to sword or tank, something like that. Generally, your smaller maps are good and bad at the same time. If you are able to get dropped quickly, I'd switch off assault. Yeah, that's just my recommendations for those. Your general game plan is just to get to mid, to pressure their melees to come fight you, and then use your utility to fight the melee as well. You should be focused on dodging arrows, because if you get shot too much, you're out of your utility faster. If you have to throw your heal pot before you fight, that's really bad. You want to try to avoid that. And yeah, just try and use your stuff in the team fight and work around your teammate and your potions and TNT as well as you can, and it should go well. And if they play passive enough, you can just get a fill because you get that mid control. So force them to play a certain way, to play how you like. And if they're not playing how you like while you're doing that, you can just switch up your kit, and it's no problem. Alright. In general, for Anubis, your archers are going to be jumping aside if it's a good power up. So if they jump aside, you're going to want to follow them and help your team fight. That's nothing crazy about that. But to help with the fight, you want to play behind your tank, of course, which I assume you're going to be playing with a tank. And in general, you can get a pot in there, may heal your teammate too if they want. And if you're going to place TNT over here, if you're just saying to fight, you might as well try and place it to this wall. So, in the off chance that they get hit by it, they're getting sent way over this way. As for middle, if you're playing a really passive round, the archers are all playing back. You want to try to aim to be the first team to middle. Just in general, being on mid and trying to have people approach you is really hard for them, because while you got all this space in mid, they don't have a lot of space. It's also good if you know your archers are being pressured real hard, maybe they're getting outshot, they're really low, they play really back, you can choose to pressure mid while their archers aren't looking, and may be able to get a fill in or force their archers and melees to come middle so your archers can get easy picks on them. But yeah, you just want to try and aim to use your TNT and damage pot as late as possible. If you can be using them while you're mid here, you're going to get a lot of value. And just the only other tip I have on this map is if they're mid and you happen to be the ones not to mid first, what I like doing is placing a TNT on the bridge there, and you can jump to it as it goes off, which will give you space, because obviously if they stand close enough to be able to hit you, they're probably going to be blasted to the sides here. And you can even follow that up with a damage pot right as the TNT explodes, may catch them off guard, and get that space back for your team. Take mid control. But yeah, other than that, scoring wise, for Anubis, I'll give it a 7 out of 10. It's a A tier map for Assault. Gyaldus Lava, good ways to use your utility, and even some fill potential should they be scared enough. Alright, so on Anvil, this map's one of my least favorite maps just in general. To get middle, pretty tough. Generally, their melees aren't going to be somewhere that, will let you fill. Unless your archers are hitting really good shots, they're going to be in your face here. So filling is kind of tough. You do have a lot of flat ground, so you're using your utility and stuff isn't going to be that bad. It's going to be alright. Biggest part you got to worry about, archers over here. Archers who play on the side here, it's really just a battle of archers standing here, one over there, like all four corners. And they just get free shots on you if you try and play mid. So it's a bit tough. But other than that, it's kind of just a normal map. You can use your utility as normal, and it's kind of just 4-on-4 in the middle here. Just want to team fight with your team and, hope for the best. But for a rating, Anvil can go in C tier, 3 out of 10. I really don't like this map. It's too open. You get shot a lot. There's no real fill potential, and your util isn't super great on this map. Arches. Arches is a pretty decent map. So your best part about this map is definitely going to be middle here. If you can get to middle and always have this fight on middle here, you got a lot of void, a little small area for where your pot can hit a lot of people and your TNT. So that's the melee fight you want to aim for. If you can get to there, that's pretty good. And of course, avoid the shots. Generally, this map, you kind of have two melee and archer go one side and archer go on the other. So if your archer gets a quick pick and they don't want to fight you really, you can just take mid. Your archer's going to have easy fire over here. They're going to have a hard time getting down this way. But if you take the melee fight at the start, once again, kind of similar to Anubis, you're going to want to place your TNT over in the side here. Try and have the best odds to get them out of the fight this way. But it's not, you want to avoid fighting on assault on this side. It's just not as good. Yeah, other than that, I got nothing really too cool about this map. For a rating, it's an okay map. I'd give it a 6 out of 10. B tier. It's alright. It's nothing special. Alright, so we got Aztec. One of my favorite maps for assault. Generally, your archers are going to double jump mid. If they double jump mid, you just want to run down this middle part as fast as possible and try and claim position on middle here. But that's usually what happens. Sometimes if their archers aren't confident in the fight or your archers aren't confident in the fight, they'll take positions somewhere up there, which makes it a lot harder because obviously they have a good angle. You can't really hide back here. You kind of have to play up top mid in front of their melees and the archers and hope the pressure of failing will kind of stop them. Power up wise, you don't really have to worry about it too much. Yeah, your pots get really good value here in the team fight. You can almost always hit a melee or two to help you and your teammate. And as for TNT, just placing it somewhere in the middle here while you're filling, you get a lot of value. Almost every round you're going to have someone at least getting hit by the TNT, and it can definitely change rounds with all the void. For that reason, I'll give it a 9 out of 10. It's an S tier map for sure. Alright, so Barnyard, not the best map for assault. Generally, you're just going to be ending up taking these 3-3s mid. And while you can, the best part about this map is that your TNT can separate the fight a lot. Like, if you get a good TNT off, they're just going to go flying, and that's really ideal. But most of the time, you're kind of just playing passive until your archer or their archer hits enough shots, and therefore their melees push really in. But yeah, if I had any tips for this map, I would definitely try and play low here. Your pot is really easy to get up and get combos off with the low ground. And for filling, you can get some good fills in. If they are playing down here, you can just pressure with the fill, place TNT, get a pot as they run in, and if your team's up with you, it'll be a lot of good damage just off that pot that you can get. But for a rating, it's really not my favorite. I'd give it's C tier, it's 3 out of 10. You don't really play the power ups. It's more of just what archers get the better power up kind of map. in which you can't always decide, so it's kind of out of your hands, but for the fight at least, there's some things you can do on mid. Alright, so Bell, there's a couple ways I like to play this. You can either go up on the right, or on the left, excuse me, and drop down on their melees as they run forward. Generally, they're not going to be able to beat you up to mid if you go up this way, unless they have an archer or are up top there. It's really easy to drop on them, and with the TNT, the pod, just dropping on people in general, that's going to be pretty easy to get a pick or two if you're with your teammate. Another way to play it is to just run straight down mid, and as you're approaching mid, try and get your archers to jump mid so you can take control. Because if you have this mid control, their archers jumping mid, you got your TNT that you can place, you got your pot for the melees that are running in. If you're organized as a team, that's the main thing you want to do. And your TNT up here and on the bridge, there's so much void. Getting hit back to spawn from here is really tough because you're just out of the fight for so long, which makes this map really good for assault. And if I had any special tips for this map, if you go up on that bridge there, you can actually just press your drop key. And if you didn't know this about assault, if you press your drop key, your TNT will place at your feet. And if that floor that you place your TNT at is one block thin, like this bridge here, your TNT will actually phase through, just straight up. So it'll spawn up top, and then because it's clipped in the floor, it'll just drop. So what you can't do is place a TNT on the blocks right up there. So as they jump up, maybe they're like trying to see if you're going to chop on them. All of a sudden, there's a TNT right here, and you can get some easy kills. It's definitely not something I do every round. Try and do it to where you catch them up by surprise, if you can. Generally, it's going to be more popular just to drop and get your TNT on this main platform here. As a sticker, it's going to stay, and you'll have a lot more success with Bell on this map. But it's a really good map for assault. As long as you can get your archers, if your archers are winning them 2v2 mid, you want them to be on this mid fast. But if they're not winning 2v2 mid, you should encourage them to play on the sides here. And after you guys drop on their melee, or as you approach mid, try and get them to jump mid so you can fight mid altogether. I give this map a 9 out of 10. Good map. It's S tier map for assault for sure. So blocks is one of my least favorite maps, but it is really good for assault. So generally your game plan here is to get this mid control as fast as possible. Now for power-ups, you don't really worry about them too much. You just want to get to mid and try and have this control as fast as possible. Because from the other team's perspective, if you're here and they have mid control, it's really hard to get across like a gap like this. Like, it's really easy to hold them off. And even easier when you have TNT, you have damage pots, like you have a lot of room. You won't miss if you aim at them. It's really hard to bait. So this getting this mid control, obviously when you go mid, you want to avoid those arrows. Maybe encourage your team to have a player jump mid or on the sides here to slow down their other melees from getting mid fast. And if you can do that, you're going to have a good time on this map. No fancy tips for this map. It is good for assault. I'd give it A tier just because of how this void here makes it kind of tough if you get a stray arrow as you're sprinting mid, which is what you'll try to do often. You might die, which kind of makes it suck. But I'd give it an 8 out of 10, A tier map. It's just really good. All this void. Easy way to line up pots. Just gotta look out for the archers on the side or at mid, and you'll have a good time. Cactus is one of those interesting maps. Generally, it's kind of the same game plan every game. You're just gonna run down mid. Oh, they took out the void umbrella. You're gonna run down mid and take this team fight. Take this team fight here. Now, on Hypixel, you got those void there. You got void there, that big area, which can be used. Generally, when you take the fight, you're just gonna want to work with your team. With this damage pot, that's going to be your best friend on this map. Once the archers fight mid, they're going to back up, and you're going to have easy time, because their tank's going to run at you, you're just going to get free pots. And if they play passive, you just play mid. It's one of those general ideas. But it's just kind of a solid map. It's really easy to get your pot down. It's easy to hide from the archers with this cactus. Just an overall pretty good, solid, standard map. So I'd say it's A tier, little 8 out of 10. Courtyard, definitely one of the maps of all time. This map's pretty simple. You kind of just walk up mid, try to avoid shots, of course. And once you have mid, like most maps, you're gonna have a good time. Their archers are either gonna jump yours, but their melee is really the part you should be focusing on. If they push in, you got TNT, you got pot, and you can just pressure mid. So if you pressure mid, their melees are forced to push up, and then you got your utility. And it's really easy to pot your teammates in this map as well. I have a good time with that. But yeah, power-ups, once again, you don't really worry about them on this particular map. And only like useful little tidbit, if you got speed like this, you can just take it off spawn. Try and get that mid control faster. You're going to be a lot quicker than your opponents if they don't. So yeah, otherwise it's a solid map. It's A tier. I'd give it a 10 out of 10 just because, I mean, it's kind of an archer game. If you get shot down really quick, your impact in the fight is going to be really low. So as long as you can avoid the shots, it's not a bad map for assault. So for District is an okay map. It's not my favorite. Very average for assault. So the struggle you're going to have on this map is that your archers are going to have pressure, so you're kind of forced to hide. Playing in the middle here is really tough. It's really hard to get this middle pressure without either their archer shooting you or their melees running up to you. So in general, if you're going to play assault on this map, you want them both to be on tank, so you can use your pot really well and don't have to worry about that speed. And you want their archers to be playing really passive, so you don't have to worry about them too much. The best place to throw your pot is going to be here when they approach this way. I'd give this map a 5 out of 10. It's pretty bad for assault, but you know, it's just an average map. If you don't get shot a whole bunch, it could be good. TNT in theory is really good, but most of the time they don't get sent far enough. For Dust, not a bad map for assault. It is pretty average, I'd say. The hardest thing you'll have on this map is that in general, you're going to have archers looking at you the whole time. And as assault with a pot and no Giga heal and not all the armor, arrows kind of burn you. You can get 3 shot to death. So definitely something you want to look out for sure. But if their archers are preoccupied, you can get this mid fight to yourself, and it's pretty good. TNT, if you can catch them with a TNT, they're almost always either going to be way out of the fight, either there, or just funneled nicely into this lava. Which makes TNT on this map pretty good. For pots, it's a little flat area. You can help damage other team, you can pot your teammate, all normal stuff. It's a pretty okay map. And yeah, if they're playing down like this and their archers aren't paying attention, you might be able to sneak a fill. Just because if you're over here normally, you can't really tell how close they are to filling unless they do a little something like this, which not everyone has the insight to do. So just something to keep in mind. If they give you that space and you got your teammate with you, just try and fill. Doesn't hurt. And the only thing you have to do is just make sure to look up if they actually choose to run at you. You got pot, you got TNT, they're going to run to a brick wall if you and your teammate are there. But overall, it's an okay map. I'd give it a B tier, 5 out of 10. Just because of those shots once again. And TNT is not amazing, but yeah. Factory is pretty good map for assault. In general, you're just gonna want to run it down mid, and you're gonna have archers on the side shooting, but hopefully your archers are able to keep them preoccupied. So you just want to look out when mainly jumping across here and here, and then coming up mid. If there's an archer there, you're gonna have a tough time. So if there's an archer there just keeping you off, I'd recommend throwing a TNT. You can put it a bit closer even, and just trying to run around the side. Just try and take impact on the melee before you get held down. Ideally though, you have an archer taking care of the archer over there, so you're able to get up these stairs. And what I like to do is, as I am jumping up this step right here, you want to throw your pot up mid, because in general, you can get up here, and anyone that's right here is going to be hit. You're going to get an easy little knockoff right here. You can put a TNT here if they don't run up, and anyone standing on these steps right around here will get blasted out this way. Most of the time they will die. And if they're running up mid, you can get the pot, you can get the TNT, fight it out over here, and you know, most of the melee is going to explode. But say for example, your archer gets a pick on one of the melees, you just want to get up here, pressure to fill. Their archers are going to have to jump on you, and you'll have TNT. You'll be able to hit them down. Most of the time, you won't get shot to death if you're up here filling too quickly. You have a lot of room. You can hide if you need. Your archers will help you out. But it's a really good map for assault. You got a big pillar. You can keep people out of the fight real easy, and your TNT does a lot of work. So for that reason, I'd give it a 9 out of 10 S tier map. So for Fracture, in general, your game plan is kind of just to make sure that power-ups isn't something that's going to kill you. Usually teams go left to try and take control of whatever power-up is here. You kind of let your teammates handle that. But most people nowadays just kind of have the majority of the team up mid, have a swordman on the side, and you kind of just fight it out. So what you want to do is pressure mid, and when their team starts to approach, you want to focus them with a TNT pot. TNT isn't super good on this map. If you want to just avoid placing it in general, it's not a terrible idea if you're down low. Just because while it can send people back to their spawn, it can also send people back to your spawn. And if you have people behind you on this map that no one is checking, you're gonna lose. That's just too much damage that's not being traded out. But the real value of assault on this map is if teams are tending to fight up top, what you can do is go with your team, and as they wrap up, just kind of sneakily slide on down here. And very often, if you're crouched down here, there's not a lot of line of sight. Like, they have to have someone on the stairs trying to look at mid, and which people don't always notice. So if you notice your teams are fighting top, you can tell your team to play passive. They'll stand up here, like 1, 2, 3. They'll see 3, but they'll just assume someone else is hiding, like ready to speed in. That's usually the first thought people have. It's an easy way to potentially get a good round, and even if you do get dropped on, then your team drops on them and has a lot easier of a time, especially if you can live and get your util down. But overall, it's an okay map for assault. For fighting mid here, the pots are really good for your team. It's just a big team fight map, so I'd give it a 7 out of 10 for A tier. Alright, Galactic. Not one of my favorite maps to play assault on, all things considered. This middle area here, it's kind of awkward to fight on. Your TNT can get people in here, and you can get a nice, your pot is decent. This kind of middle area makes it a bit awkward, but your pot is decent. The flat area is not super big, so it's okay. In general though, you just want to stay with your teammates, have your archers battle it out for the power-ups up there, may get some shots on the mid for you. But if they're playing really passive, you're obviously going to want to pressure up mid really quick, and if you're the ones playing passive, as you approach in, you can get a little damage pot in, get a TNT, and reclaiming this middle area is not going to be too bad. But in general on this map, you just want to look out for getting shot, because if you get shot too much, you're just going to be useless in the melee fight. And as an assault, you don't have all the health in the world like a tank does, so you want to make sure that you're getting shot as least little as possible. But yeah, on this map, it's not too bad. It's not great, so I'd give it a 5 out of 10, a little B tier. I wouldn't recommend playing it. Alright, so Garden. Probably, in my opinion, the worst map for assault. This map is just really awkward to play melee on, and just really awkward in general. All these obstacles. The best place for like your damage potion would be here, and maybe as you approach mid here. But in general, everyone's just so clumped together that these fights are really awkward. It's really hard to get your potions off in a useful fashion. And your TNT, obviously, if you place it up here, you literally have a box. No one's going anywhere. If you're able to bomb someone in the void, then, you know, good on you. But this map is just really bad for assault. You're better off just going tank, golem, swords, just trying to have as much health or do as much damage as possible. And assault's kind of just the middle of the two. You're not going to really be doing an insane amount of damage, nor absorb an insane amount of damage. So I would just not recommend doing it on this map. So overall for this map, I'll give it a 1 out of 10. Definitely the worst. Heroes Pass. Not a great map. In general, your archers are going to jump mid or power up, And if they jump mid, you're going to want to kit or either be a tank or a sword that can help get in this fight quickly as possible and do quick damage by just running in. This middle area is pretty good for fighting. Just your TNT really rarely gets value, just because of all the walls keeping people in, and just by the nature of the fights, you're kind of on these stairs or grouped in a corner, and just TNT and pots are kind of hard to use effectively. So I try to avoid playing assault on this map. But yeah, if you were to, if you notice they're playing really passively, like they just don't want to come out of this corner, their archer isn't shooting mid, you can pressure fill on assault and get a good pot off on their melees. TNT to spread them out, just fight with your team. It is good for that, but other than that, it's not too great of a map. I would avoid assault on this map. Give it a 3 out of 10. Hilltop, one of the classic maps of Woolwars. Now, this map is one of the few maps that power-up usage is actually pretty decent. Now, what I mean by that is that, first off, we'll talk about the ones off spawn. So, speed is the one you're looking for the most. If you get a speed, on the left side, you just run down the side. You have immunity from fall damage over there. Take a speed here, immunity from fall damage as you get up, and you can just run up the side there or run and grab that power up real quick, just because you'll be there first. And if not, you can grab this speed, run like this, and you can do a jump with speed like this pretty easily. And if you don't have speed, you can make that jump. Just helps you get up mid faster, get that mid control. And once you have mid, obviously you're going to look out for the archers. If they play up there, you're going to have a hard time up here, just be careful. And if they play over here, once you're on top of mid, it's going to be a bit tough. But once you make it to mid, you're going to have an easy time holding people off. You'll be able to throw your damage pot over there. TNT does really well. There's a lot of void. And it keeps you out of the fight for a while. But in general, with your damage pots, if you're not fighting down low there, like if you're fighting down low and they want to fight, you can get a damage pod. Flat area, it'll help you out a lot. But as you're running up here, kind of similar to factory, just throw a pot. It'll hit them if they're up here, and you can get a combo off of it. Or your teammates will if they're up there with you. And then TNT, you just throw it on the corner there. If they're on these 3 blocks here, they will get sent flying. This guy's cheating. But yeah, TNT and pots on this edge here is definitely what you want to aim for. And if you don't have that mid pressure, don't be afraid to just sit here to avoid archer shots. And then as you're ready to go in, you can put a TNT on the side here to force them to one side, and you can get a pot off, come in, take this fight. It's definitely ways you can work around mid with your utility here. That's really good. So for that reason, it's definitely an A tier map. I'd give it a 9 out of 10. So for Histoire, it's an okay assault map. In general, you're just gonna run it down mid once again. Kind of similar trend for a lot of these maps. And in general, your archers are either gonna jump mid or jump to side and kind of just hold each other off for a bit. So what I'd recommend doing, if you're gonna play assault on this map, which you can, staying out of line of sight from the archers. And if their archer is playing really passively, like not really giving themselves a good way to shoot you, you can take mid pressure. And then as their melees come in, you get a good pot. You got TNT, all sorts of good stuff to kind of keep them out. And it happens occasionally, but there is void by these stairs over here. Your TNT can send them over here. Just one in the middle, you catch them on the right or left, can send them just dead. So that is nice. But otherwise, you just kind of want to play this middle square team fight as normal. Pot your teammates if you can, damage them if you can, separate them with a TNT if you can. Just play off your team, and you'll have a decent time on this map. But in general, there's a lot of swordsmen on this map, and tank assault sword does work, but compared to tank and a sword, if the archer's up there and in your face, it's really hard to do enough damage and help out your team enough. So it's an okay map, but maybe would be better spent on tank or sword. For that reason, I'll give it a 6. It's a B tier. Alright, so for Horde, this map's kind of interesting. It's one of the few maps that power-ups are kind of just easily, are pretty convenient for you. So You can pick them up should your team let you. And generally on this map, the archers are going to be playing here, kind of holding this mid area, forcing you off, or around the side. So if they're around the side, you want to take this mid pressure and give yourself a good angle to either pot them as they run through here or run down the sides. It's hard for them not to be hit by a damage potion, so you can work off that pretty well. TNT, however, not super useful. As you can see, it's kind of an enclosed area. There is the lava, but in general, they're not going to be thrown right into it. It's not very often. So it's really a damage pot kind of map. It's okay. It's probably better off spent, on tank or sword doing big damage or absorbing big damage. But you can definitely have some impact with your potions if you play it right. So for that reason, I'll give it a 4 out of 10. It's a C tier map. Kind of awkward. Alright, so we got King's Pass. It's a pretty bad map for Assault. Just because the general, trend of this map is just to get mid. And wait for your archers to shoot other melees, or shoot other archers. It's kind of just a waiting game, this map. It's really hard to pressure their archers without just, suiciding yourself. Like if you're sword, you're gonna have a real hard time getting past their 2 melees here and killing the archer without them getting away. So it's really just a wait for your archer kind of map. And very rarely will you get pressure on mid to fill before that. So, and with the fact that a lot of people like to play swords on this map is not good. I'd give it a 3 out of 10. I recommend just playing tank or sword on this map. Lava, it's not one of my favorite maps, but it is pretty good for assault. So in general on this map, you want to get mid. It's kind of similar to Anubis, in where you get mid and it's pretty tough for them to approach you. The nice part about this platform being so long is that if you rush mid straight up into their melees, you're going to be able to get a pot off that will almost always hit them. And same for your TNT. It's pretty hard to avoid this if you're just taking a 2v2 mid and there's a lot of lava, so in general you're going to get a kill or two just by those alone. Now, the tough part about this map is that people will be shooting you. So you got archers that sit over there, over here, over here, over here. It's really hard to get to middle without getting shot once if they are trying to shoot you. There's just not a lot of room. But if you can avoid that, it's a really good map for assault. Should your archers not do anything horribly wrong, if you can get this mid control and get the melees out relatively quickly, you're going to have a good time on this map. For that reason, I'll give it 8 out of 10. Give me an 8 tier map for assault. Patio is a okay map. There's generally 2 ways that this map gets played. Either both melees rush the same side and take this team fight here, in which case assault is not super good. It's pretty tough, especially with this angle here. You got a teammate in the way. It's tough to get a good pot off and make your pots and TNT useful in this fight here. So I would try to avoid doing that if you're going to play assault. If you want to take the fight, I'd just go tank or sword or something like that. Now, if the other team is playing passive, maybe they want to play opposite side of you, or you want to play opposite side of them, then assault can be good. This middle area is pretty good for separating people. They either get sent off the sides there, one of the corners, and it takes a while for them to get back into their fight. You can also pressure mid pretty well here, and hold them off with pots and TNT. The only thing you have to worry about is if you're playing that way, is archer shots. They're going to have an easy time shooting you on mid. It's not a lot of ways to hide, especially if they're just in the side there and you're on mid. But overall, it's just kind of an okay map. I'll give it a 6 out of 10. You can play it if you want, but it's nothing special on this map. Plummet is a pretty good map for assault. So once again, you want to just get down mid quick, get that mid control, and your pot and your TNT, obviously you can see a ton of void. If it hits someone, they're probably gonna die or be out of the fight for a while. And as for your damage pot, it is pretty easy to catch at least one of the tanks like this, and get good combos off your pot in this map. Now for just general mid control, you just want to stay on mid. Don't worry about the power ups too much. It's not really your problem. It's kind of your archer's problem. And if they're playing back, you can pressure mid, get a good fill off. Because if you can make it to where your team can fill it, you can hold them off. Pot, TNT, not too bad. One of the things I will say to be careful about on this map is that some of that middle area is 1 block thick. So if you're going to place TNT, either jump while doing it or something like that, because it might phase through and you'll be very confused why your TNT did nothing that round. But other than that, it is a really good assault map. The TNT and the damage pots are really easy to use on this map, and as long as you don't happen to be on the sides where it's 1 block thick, as you can kind of see there, just kind of outside areas 1 block thick, and your TNT doesn't fade through, you're gonna have a good time on this map. So for that reason, I'll give it a 9 out of 10, 8 S tier map. Retro is one of my least favorite maps for any kit I play. So for assault though, your general game plan, if you're fighting with your melees, if you're going same side as them, you're gonna want to fight. It's kind of similar to Anubis in the side fights. You want to try and get a good pot in the middle here. TNT on the side. Oh, TNT on the side there somewhat may have a chance of blowing him into the lava, but in general, you know, fighting side on assault isn't super great. It's okay, not great. And as for middle, you would think this is really good for TNT. You would think. I, at least personally, don't have a lot of success with it. It's good if they're getting held. The best part about assault is if your archer is holding their melees with a bow, and their archers are forced to jump mid. That's the best part. If you can do that every round, you'll have a good time. But if their melees are free to drop on you, either from behind you or from their side, it's very hard to get this fill off quick enough before you get jumped on and knocked off. And even then, your TNT, this wall is surprisingly good at catching them. So they'll speed the fight without taking a lot of damage. Damage pots are kind of awkward to throw. You don't have a lot of space. They're probably going to close the distance if they jump on you. It's really a tough map for assault. It is good. It's just very annoyingly tough. So I'll give it. I'll call it average, 5 out of 10. It definitely can be really good, but majority of the time it's just below average. So do with that what you will. Now for Ruin, I like to play bottom here so you can call out power ups for your team. It's one of the few maps that you'll actually be able to claim a power up for assault somewhat easily. Let's say you get boots here, let's say you get boots here. Easy one to pick up. Otherwise, you generally want to leave them for your team, as I mentioned previously. But it's a good map to kind of scope out what their team is doing. If they're kind of playing hidden back here, the archers are kind of fighting up top. You can pressure mid pretty easily, because unless they're looking out for it, it's kind of like some other maps, they might not notice it. But for team fight, TNT is okay. If they get blasted down there, it's really good. If they get caught on the side, it's not quite so good. But your damage pot does a lot. If you have this middle pressure, they're going to walk up over here. Easy pot covers all of that. And you can just kind of go in from there if you got archer help. It is a pretty average map though for assault. Not amazing, not bad. So I'd give it a 6 out of 10. A little B tier. And yeah. Alright, for shipment, I couldn't find it in the pubs, but here's a game that I had. Basically, on shipments, this map's a little bit weird. Your archers are generally going to jump these power-ups down below. So if they lose that, like my teammate did there, unfortunately, it's kind of rough. But generally, your archers are going to jump down here for good power-ups, and if they do that, you can drop down here and try to help them with the fight if it takes more than 2 seconds. And if not, then you can do what Navi's doing and just go mid and try and take that fight quick before their archers get too close. But yeah, this map is pretty good for assault, because if you can survive the arrow onslaught, which does happen a lot of rounds, it's just arrows shooting forever, then you can control this mid with a damage pot pretty well. And as for TNT and damage pot, you want to kind of save for here. Down there when you fight, it's not as necessary. But yeah, power-ups, you're usually not going to grab any. I did the first round just because they happened to leave it, so works out. But yeah, this map's kind of a chaos, but if it's organized fight up top, it's pretty good for assault. Otherwise, not so great. So I give it a 7 out of 10. You just have to dodge those arrows. Alright, so we got Steelworks here, and generally on Steelworks, you just want to get to mid. Now, this mid's kind of tough because it's hard to get to their archers without full sending it. So generally people play pretty passive, and I like playing around that box on the left or on the right. The right's a bit easier. I can place some blocks at mid, pressure them a little bit, while also staying out of relatively danger of their archer. Mainly because if I get up to a spot right about here, and they have archers there, it's really not too good for them. Because my archers are going to be back here, they're able to shoot these guys pretty easily, which is pretty good for me. Now, generally, excuse me. Now, generally, you just want to pressure mid a little bit if they're up here. If their archers have a bit more presence, and you just want to let the archers fight it out, you can just sit right back here and wait for the fight. And obviously, your TNT can do pretty good. Your pots can be your main friends, because the TNT could bomb tanks back into the archers, which could go poorly for y'all. But focus on your pot when you have that mid control, and yeah, you should have a good time on this map. As for rating, I think it's a pretty good assault map. Just not too bad. You have a good way to pressure middle, and they have a hard time dealing with you, or they have a hard time getting you without getting potted. So give it an 8 out of 10. It's a A tier map. We got Stoneguard, one of Assault's best maps. So obviously, ton of void. You're gonna have a lot of time fighting people here. And generally, people either go 3 melee or 4, which is good. You'll get a lot of value with your pot. It's not a lot of places to hide. You're gonna get value with this stuff, usually. Oh my, go flying. The other thing you have to watch out for is that when you come through this portal, you're gonna be clumped on your team. So you want to make sure to get some distance before you throw your pot to help them. What I would recommend doing is kind of getting up fast to get your TNT, then trying to play behind your tanks, and then afterwards getting a good damage pot in as they go back in. Or if you notice they're getting hit a lot and they're kind of staying in the same place, hit them with a little heal potion, help them out with the melee. Should have a good time on this map if you play Assault. Only thing you have to do is call out your TNTs if they have another Assault, so your teammates can keep that in mind and not die to it. And for that reason, I'd give it a 9 out of 10. Only real thing you have to worry about is just getting shot too much, and a source on the flank, if you're not paying attention to it, will shred you. So just something to keep in mind. Alright, Sunshine. Pretty awkward map for Assault, to be honest. Now, if you can somehow, if they're playing really passive, you can just walk up, you're going to have a good time holding him off from this point with the archer behind you. But generally that doesn't happen. Most people don't let that happen. So most of the time, the archers are both going to jump down here. You're going to rush the mid to help them as fast as possible. And with everyone running in the same place, it's hard to get a good damage pot off quickly. So I'd recommend holding it at the start. For TNTs, you want to place it somewhere along here. My favorite place, somewhere right there. Because if you can push them fast, you'll be fighting around here. And let's say someone happens to be right here as that goes off, they're in the void. There's void here, there's void there. TNT on this pillar might be your best friend. And you can get, if you can work with your teammates for these pots pretty well. But it's not amazing, just in general, just because of how quick the fight happens. It's okay. And then if you play top and try and get that mid control, generally people play up, so Assault isn't super great. But it's pretty average map for Assault. I'd give it a 5 out of 10. B tier. Temple. It's an okay map. It's not one of my favorites. It's really hard to be up here with risk of shooting, and their archers can jump on mid pretty easily. So it's kind of a tough map to get on this mid uncontested. But a good way to play it is to kind of play back here, try and be out of the range of archers. And if their melees push up, you can get a good pot, get this low ground. It's going to be pretty nice. And if you happen to fight up here, you still got the pot for the area, and your TNT will be a lot better up here. Kind of force them back somewhere out of the fight. It's generally what you want to look for on this map. And if they're playing really passive, you can really pressure to fill, get pot, TNT, and just kind of force it if your team is on the same page, getting in there. But it's not great. It's kind of hard to avoid getting shot on this map, at least for me. And you know, it's kind of just better playing like a sword or a tank to stop the archers from playing aggressive angles. It definitely is playable, but I give it a 4 out of 10 C tier. Alright, for Tumble, this map's easily one of Assault's best maps. Just, its TNT is really valuable in this. You can get down mid pretty quick with your team. What I like to do is, depending on where I plan on playing mid, I tell my team to play in the same spot. So, generally, I'll tell my team to just play right side. No, left side if there's no like super good power up there. Just because I can get my TNT on here. It's 1 block thick, you gotta look out for that. And their swordsmen running in, you have easier time reacting to them and maybe picking them off. And while your teammate will pop out of this portal and instantly be in the fight, ready to get behind someone real quick. That's just how I like to play it. And then another cool thing you can do is if there's jump boost on this side off spawn, you can grab it and, you know, if you can jump up and place a TNT in midair, it's kind of hard to keep track of because it'll just fall to the ground and just kind of be on the ground for a lot less time. And also if you do that, what I like doing with jump boost is, I'll just pretend I have it for this example. It's just kind of running up here, grabbing it, and going down like this. And I like playing here. So for any of their swordsmen, I get some free hits. Then I walk in with jump boost, jump up, kind of get a TNT to land about here, and then proceed to fight from there. Because TNT will catch people off guard, people will turn around because they hit you, and you can also pot because now you'll be on this awkward angle, and if they turn to see you, easy pot to the face. Stuff like that. So it is a very good map for Assault. So I'd recommend at least one person per team playing it, just because if you have 2 or more, the TNTs can be good, but if your TNTs aren't hitting, then you're going to want to have that damage. So yeah, one Assault, really good on this map. And definitely the best Woolwars map for this. Alright, so Underworld. Very just generic and average map. You're going to run down mid. Most of the time your archers are going to be fighting for these power-ups here. And your goal is to kind of dodge, stay out of the way for the most part until they let up, and yeah. So pots are pretty good down here. TNT is okay. You got the sides here kind of catching everyone. TNT isn't going to be so useful. Generally people like to play a lot of tank, one sword, so Assault running into that is not great, but it's doable. And if you fight on the sides here, kind of similar to a lot of maps, place your TNT as left as possible to kind of try and funnel them away from the fight and do as much damage as possible. Yeah, damage pot will be your best friend on this map. And if they're playing really passive, like the archers have no line of sight on you, you want to force. You just want to pressure middle. So their melees have to run into your potion and TNT. But yeah, it's an okay map. It's very average. Give it a 6 out of 10. Wilderness, pretty shit map. I can't lie. If there's like boots or a good power up that your team wants you to take, you can easily just grab it up here and get down without getting too much trouble. But it is a kind of small, confined area to fight. If these blocks weren't here, this map would honestly be pretty good, but this kind of is pretty bad for Assault. It's easy if they don't walk on top of this to get a pot on the sides, like either here or here, and kind of work them off that. If you were to place TNT, I'd place it on the pillars, something like that, kind of awkward. Splits people up, maybe you can get them in the hole here, you know. But in general, it's pretty bad. I really don't like it. The best part about it is if they're playing really back because your archers are hitting a lot of shot, you can pressure mid really easily. And it's hard, not everyone has a good angle to see mid. So if they don't know you're filling mid, you're going to have an easy time filling. But other than that, pretty bad map for Assault. So I give it a 4 out of 10. Alright, so for maps, in conclusion, the green maps up here are maps you can definitely, like, if you like playing Assault, I would definitely play it on these maps. These maps are all very good for Assault. Now for A, it definitely works pretty well. If you don't play it, it's definitely totally fine to play tank or sword. Like, there's no problem playing assault here, but I would definitely favor having assault on your team for these maps. For the middle one here, these maps are just kind of average. It's kind of do what you want. If you want to play assault here, that's totally fine. If you don't, you know, also fine. It's kind of just an average assault maps. Like it could work, sometimes it doesn't. It's kind of based on preference. So for C tier, these maps are generally pretty bad for assault. I would try to avoid assault on these maps, but if you want to play them, then by all means, they can definitely work. It's just gonna be harder. And then finally, Garden, just don't play assault on this. You'll save yourself a lot of pain trying to make it work.
Okay.
Alright, so I'm gonna be doing a ranked match just to kind of show how I'll play. So for here, my teammates are jumping to sword, so I want to get to mid fast. I noticed an archer mid, so I'm gonna try and get mid with my teammate and help him out.
Dude, you have like the melee set of like.
So the pot was alright, just couldn't get too much value. My team's doing well to clean up though, so I set him up for success.
Shot him once. No heart.
In general, the way I played that was pretty well. I noticed our archer was mid, but I noticed that my archers had swords and were on the side. So it worked out pretty well. My damage wasn't the best. My damage pot was pretty good.
No.
And my TNT almost worked. It kept them separated.
Right, that's
so
what I'm saying.
you can continue this.
No,
It'll
I'm
go well.
excited.
Alright, let's double.
Oh yeah.
I'll jump mid. You can jump the sword.
Okay.
What the fuck? My AJ went the wrong way. Sorry. It's okay. You're like. I shot Navi once. Shot Alex once.
Nice.
Alright, so I kept Elias out of the fight and let my teammate get a 1 with Navi. And keeping Elias out stalled it so my teammate could win the 1 along with my teammate's shots. And it worked pretty well.
Oh no.
Fortunately, they're stuck chasing the archers over here instead of taking middle.
Behind you. Nice, Robin.
Wait.
Nice, Robin.
Oh.
Wait. He's back. Oh my god.
What the fuck?
And it just
Dude, I
works
told
out
you.
sometimes. You set your teammate up for
You're
set your
best.
team for success, and they can do well. So yeah, even though you see my damage, it's pretty low. You know, it's not always about damage, and that's something you'll just have to keep
You're the
in
best
mind.
EU though.
Like
Cap,
I average
cap.
over 50% win rate on assault rounds while doing less than like 12 damage
What is
a
that?
round.
What's that top? What's that top? It's a player for me. Okay, never mind.
Jump.
I shot Alex.
Shot Alex.
I shot another one.
Okay, I guess my teammate lagged back over void, so he died. I didn't even notice that myself, but my archers should be able to clean this up, I think.
Oh my god, him.
Nice, y'all. So, did a good job doing damage to the tanks.
I'm in there, dude.
Got that
I'm
plot for my
literally in
teammate and kept Navi out a little bit to give my teammate that 1. Kind of kept them separated. Worked out pretty well. So let's go on to map 2 of this game. So here we got Horde, and while the previous map I rated 8 out of 10, this one it's not great. I think I gave it a 4 or 5, but I'm gonna play it just for the sake of the video. So I don't see any good power-ups yet, so I'm not gonna go in for anything. The goal I have is a bow over there for my teammate. The goal I have for this map is just to play with my melees and try and do as much work as possible.
Bro, Alex is just looking at me. I can't lie. I don't lie to you.
Oh hell yeah.
Oh yeah, get the fuck in there, bro. Oh yeah. What are you doing? What are you doing, littlest bro? What are you doing, littlest bro? Oh my.
So yeah, I had a pretty good round there. Was able to catch Elias off guard because he was looking at someone else, and my TNT blasted the other 2 melees off to his side, so I was able to look at him without having to worry too much about getting stabbed in the back. But just notice how I helped fight melee with my team, and we did really well because we're all together.
Beam these noobs.
Oh, they're pushing.
I shot Dion.
Oh, what?
Yeah, not too great on that one, just because we all got a bit separated. It's honestly my fault for being a bit separated from the team.
Yeah, dude. I was fucking Alex.
They were able to push here, and I didn't have a good way to stop them and help my team. So that is on me
As usual,
for being
as
in a
per
bad
usual.
spot. Should have
There's
just
three
wrapped
mid,
around
right?
the side here just to stick mid here.
Okay.
That's my bad that round. Kind of in a bad spot.
No, that's my bad.
All right, bro.
Let's play in the corner.
Grab that helmet and chest plate.
Okay, greedy.
I shot Elias once.
Alex took our chest plate. Okay, he's out.
What a douche.
I'll pressure mid. Oh,
I'm not there with you guys.
Oh, and then Alex.
so usually I would probably swap the tank. Just because, you know, they're kind of pushing up really aggressively. I'm not able to get a good pot off, and my TNT's not doing all that. So I'd probably switch the tank normally, but for the sake of it, I'm just going to stay assault, try and do my
Or
best
do you
here.
wanna go melee?
I can go arch.
Yeah, let's try and just take mid more and just have Archer shoot down mid. I think that should be okay. You had chest plate arm.
Yeah, you got
Yeah, you
it.
didn't jump on it this time. Get up here.
We push it. We push it. We push it. We push it. Yeah, good stuff, guys. Holy
Nice,
shit.
y'all. So that round, I was able to catch Navi looking at my teammate. They would get some good backstabs, and once we traded a hit and backed up, I was able to pot him and finish off the kill. My team did a good job with the melees there. Obviously, I can trust these guys to do work, so
I'll check last. Okay.
it makes my job easier.
It's all helmets. A lot of helmets.
Iron boots.
I'll grab this one. Alex is on mid.
Yeah.
Try and pressure him a bit. Yeah, we gotta get to mid.
I shot Navi like half.
Oh, this is one shot.
Nice, good stuff.
So my TNT kind of made it awkward. Hopefully my team's able to clean up, but I don't know.
I got so many on me, bro. One more.
Nice, guys.
Nice. 11%, not even close.
Pretty
Not even
clean
close.
game, all things
So I get
considered.
to
I didn't
reload,
do a
right?
bad job. My damage wasn't amazing, but hey,
Did we just
the
6-0
it's
them?
it's more the impact.
No
More
way,
the
never mind.
impact.
I'm fucking stupid. I'm fucking stupid. I'm fucking stupid.
See, 15 damage in a winning round, but you know, it's all it takes sometimes. All it takes sometimes. But yeah, that should conclude this video. If you guys have any questions, just feel free to leave a comment or ping me in the rank server and ask about it. I'm more than happy to help out with assault questions. But yeah, appreciate you for watching if you watched all the way, and good luck using assault in ranked or wherever you intend on playing it.